and this is a voice crying in the wilderness. I thought I'd just like to discuss something that seems to be a very important topic, and I know my friend James discussed it in his last video. And what I want to talk about tonight, this afternoon, is I want to talk about loneliness in the church or disconnection. Now, I will just make a little disclaimer here that I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist. I cannot diagnose your particular condition. If you need that kind of assistance, I would suggest you get it. And I realize I don't know. I'm not somebody that actually gives psychological advice, so I don't know how I could help you in that manner. But what I do believe is I believe in listening and caring, and I do try to interpret God's word to the best of my ability, and I think that's very important that we all should do. However, on to the topic. There seems to be a lot of people who are in the church right now, and they seem to be very. Sometimes they feel disconnected or feel very lonely. I think that seems to be something that is probably in a lot of our churches. I know I experience that from time to time, being part of several churches over the past 16 years. And I probably have been with, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 churches. So probably I started in the church back in, I wasn't, just trying to give you a little bit of a background on myself. I'm not a church person. I wasn't raised in the church. I was sort of like what we would call a non-practicing Catholic, and who didn't really read the Bible very much. And I also was raised from parents who didn't really necessarily go to church. So that's just kind of just me. So I might have known about God, but my parents never necessarily went to church because it just wasn't their thing. I might have went to church one time, and that's about all. But I never was really somebody that was overly religious. So church just wasn't really my thing because I wasn't really into the tradition. I wasn't really into the robes or that sort of thing. So that's certainly wasn't my thing. But it wasn't exactly until at least my mother passed away back in 2005. So I didn't start getting involved with the church till about 2006. So probably right now, I probably would say I have about anywhere between the last at least up to at least 15 years of church experience. I don't have any sort of like any seminary degree. I don't have any experience in how to be a pastor. I don't have any experience in how to preach. I don't even have any experience in how to minister. But what I do have experience in is I do have a lot of experience of what it feels like to be a member of a church and be part of a congregation and at least part of a group of people that probably don't necessarily fit in, and maybe it's just me, or maybe uh, there are other people that are sort of like me or sort of like in the situation. But it's not that I'm just like totally alone, but I never really felt that I really felt that I had a real connection in at least being in a church or being connected to nearly everybody. And although I've probably sustained some very good relationships, but not the type of relationships that are like really meaningful, or at least the type of people that I speak to on a very daily basis. As a matter of fact, just being part, the church that I usually regularly go to, and I've already discussed this probably once before. And despite the fact of being part of this particular church and being with a few others over the past 10 years, I probably have made very few friends in that church, or at least anybody that has actually built a relationship, and I really haven't. And I just member of a small group, but unless I'm at that church, the only time that I actually communicate with these people, and despite the fact that I am a member of a small group, and maybe I do talk to some of the people that I work with, and maybe one or two people I communicate with in that church. Most of the people I really never see. I really don't. They don't call me. I don't call them. It might just be both. Maybe I just don't have the courage to call them or ask them. I mean, I did get a call from the pastor during the pandemic to ask me how I was, but that was about all. But it isn't something that it's not really like a constant relationship. I don't get calls from anybody asking me to go out to dinner or ask me if there is anything I need. But I mean, that's just part of the territory, and I'm probably not the only one. But that's just the way our churches are, and all churches have cliques. All churches have people that they really communicate with more. And I guess maybe the reason that there are some people that are lonely in the church is I can't this at least from what I've been able to figure out is maybe me or maybe the people in that church, maybe they don't have the charisma. Maybe there are people in the church that maybe they don't have much in common with a lot of those people. Maybe I mean, I don't know, maybe the best thing is maybe they just don't necessarily fit in. Maybe there are people in the church that they don't just necessarily click with. I don't know. Best solution is, maybe they should maybe find an interest, find something that they enjoy doing, or I don't know. Maybe they need to find a different church. I don't know. Maybe it's just the people there are just not the type of people that are worth hanging around. Or maybe the people that are there, maybe they don't have any spiritual gifts. Maybe you're not tithing enough in the church. Maybe you need to do more things in the church to get people to pay attention to you. A lot of these churches right now, a lot of them, I mean, I know, despite the fact of a few of them, and I know that there are people who actually care about their members, but a lot of these churches, some of them are big, some of them are small. A lot of them are interested in that tithe, and they are interested in that money. And we are, and a lot of the members, or a lot of us, kind of feel obligated that we have to give something to the church. You might have to give 5%, you might have to give 20%, but we all have an obligation, and I understand both sides of the argument that we shouldn't be required to tithe, and then there are other people in the churches, there are other people like churches feel that it is our duty to give something to the church, and just maybe give like 5% or 10%. I mean, the churches, they have to get their money from somewhere, and they have things that they have to pay for. They have staff they have to pay, they have a building they have to pay. And so, I mean, I understand that there are expenses that go along with running a church, and I understand church is not necessarily free, and I understand that everything is a business, and you do have to run church that way. And I know it's pretty unfortunate that you have to tell people, but you do have to raise money, and sometimes it's not real easy, and there are a lot of people that you're not giving anything. And I understand there are a lot of people that take advantage of other people, but there are a lot of people out there that are just expecting to get something for nothing, and I'm not expecting to get something for nothing. It's just, you just come every week and you just show up. But sometimes you gotta do a little more. Maybe you gotta show more charisma. Maybe you gotta have more spiritual gifts. I don't know. Maybe I'm not the right kind of a person in the churches. Maybe you gotta be dressed a certain way. Maybe you gotta look a certain way. Maybe you gotta have more income or something like that. So I don't know. It could be a variety of things. Maybe you're just not in the right church. Maybe you need need to find a different type of a church. Maybe you need to look elsewhere. So I don't know, but I understand how a lot of you feel who are not making friends, and I know, and it's really hard. Sometimes it's even hard for me, but I'm just very thankful of the friendships that I do have. And despite the fact that I've been at this place for 11 years and I only have maybe one or two people that I actually communicate with, so it's not like there are people blowing up my phone and says, "Hi, how are you? Let's have coffee." It just doesn't work that way. And then the other thing is people come and go so many times. You know, people go to different churches, people move, people go to other groups, and so it's just really, it can be very challenging for sometimes. So you know, despite what city you're in, whether you be here in Chicago, whether you be in Fort Wayne, or wherever you might be having problems, and you're probably in a church and you're probably feeling lonely. I don't know. I guess the best solution is maybe you need to throw some money their way, or maybe do something to make the pastor like you. I don't know. I mean, I know I've done a lot of much as I can, and I know I've come a long way, but I don't feel that I have all the spiritual gifts that a lot of the churches would be interested in. I know I don't have the charisma that other people have. So I mean, it's all comes with the territory. You know, everybody's different. Not everybody is gonna have charisma. Not everybody is gonna have connections. And yeah, there are gonna be situations where you're gonna be by yourself. But you know, it's all up to you. You have to decide where you want to go, and you all have to decide. Well, maybe what you need to do is you need to get out of the church, and you need to probably join a small group. I mean, I've visited many different churches. I've visited big churches. I've visited big and small. And the last church that I visited was Willow Creek here in Chicago, and I tried to do that, and it was just too big for me, and I felt very disconnected. And I probably prefer to be like in a smaller group of people, and that's kind of what I'm in right now. And I feel that I've actually made probably better connections at work than I've actually made in the churches. So I'm not really depending on the churches for friends. I think you just can't depend on that. You basically got to depend on yourself. You got to depend on God, and you got to depend on God's word. But I understand all the stuff that James is saying, and I understand that there are people out there that the churches don't want to deal with. They don't want to deal with the people who smell. Maybe they want the people in there with the money, with the big money and the charisma. Obviously, that's what churches are there to do. They're there to raise all that money, and they're there to bring in that tithe. They also have to be careful of not trying to offend too many people or get too political. You know, all the churches now, everybody just like wants to be liked, and they don't want to offend, and they don't want to be convicted, because if they say the wrong thing, all the people in there that give all the large big pots of money, they might stop coming. So everything is a business these days. It's just it's not going to church is not like what we think it is. It isn't. You're just going to walk in, everybody's going to love you. That's just doesn't work that way. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, the best solution is if you're like me and maybe you're feeling a little disconnected. My best solution is, I don't know, maybe throw some money their way. Maybe maybe do something fascinating. Maybe find an interest. I don't know, get in good with the pastor. I don't know, do something. Pray about it. I don't know. Or possibly go to another church, or maybe start your own church would be the best thing to do. But that's just kind of my advice, and so I just thought I'd share that with you this afternoon. But I understand, if all of you out there who are feeling disconnected and feeling lonely, maybe it's time for you to maybe find a different church or find some new friends. So And for those of you who are in the churches that are out there and are not paying attention to the people that are lonely or disconnected, my suggestion to you is you need to start looking in on your members. You do need to contact your members more. You need to look at the people that you're not looking at, and you need to be more aware of who's depressed and who's lonely. With all the situations that are going on, it's always good to be aware, and you always have to be concerned about certain other people that no one cares about. But I'm glad that my friend James he's actually making the effort to try to get a church started or get a ministry started. And I know it's not easy. I hope he finds the right people hope he finds the right people to help him in his journey. And I feel for the people who are lonely. I feel for the people that are disconnected, because you know what? I'm with you. I've been in that place, and there are sometimes I feel that way. And so what I usually do is I just either go somewhere else, or I find another group of people and I build connections that way. That's all you can do. And so I just wanted to discuss that with you today, and I will talk to you again very soon. Goodbye. Good afternoon, and see you soon.